And we're back with the 8th chapter of The Figure in the Shadows. Sorry for the interruption in the last video. I do record these on my phone, so if I get a call, it will stop. So Lewis was finally able to tell Rosarita what was up with the amulet. She wants to tell Uncle Jonathan, but Lewis does not want her to. Rosarita had not known Lewis long, but she did know that he spent a great deal of time worrying about being bawled out. He worried about it even when he wasn't doing anything bad, and she didn't really know how Jonathan would react. Maybe he would lose his temper, so she shrugged and said, "Oh, okay, we won't tell them then. But I think you ought to give the darned thing to me so I can throw it down the sewer for you." Lewis looked hesitant. He bit his lip. "Could we just maybe kind of put it away for a while? You never know, when I grow up, it might be that I could do something with it." Rosarita looked at him over the tops of her glasses. "Like fly to the moon? Come on, Lewis, stop kidding around. You just want to hang on to it. Give it here." She held out her hand. Lewis's face suddenly grew hard. He stuffed the coin back under his shirt. "No!" Rosarita looked at him for a moment. Then she took off her glasses, folded them up, and put them in the holder in her shirt pocket. She jumped at him, and at the first lunge got her hands around the chain the coin was attached to. Lewis got his hands on the chain, too. And he struggled to keep it down around his neck. He fought hard, and Rosarita was amazed at his strength. She had Indian wrestled with him once, and she had won easily, but now it was different. They staggered back and forth across the floor of the library. Rosarita's face got red, so did Lewis's. Neither of them said a word. Finally, Rosarita gave one sharp yank and tore the chain through Lewis's sore fingers. And at that, Lewis gave a wild yell and leaped at her. His hand raked down the side of her face. Blood flowed. Rosarita stood in the middle of the room, panting. In one hand, she held the chain with the coin on it. With the other, she gently touched the wetness on her cheek. Now that the coin was gone, Lewis felt as if he had just been shaken rudely out of a dream. He blinked and stared at Rosarita, and he felt ashamed. Tears came to his eyes. "Gee, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, was all he could say. The study doors rolled back, and there was Jonathan. "Good Lord, what is going on in here? I heard this scream and thought someone was being killed." Rosarita hastily stuffed the coin chain into the pocket of her jeans. "Oh, it wasn't anything, Mr. Barneveld. Lewis borrowed my Captain Midnight's secret decoder ring, and I said he had kept it long enough, and we had a fight about it." When she turned to face him, Jonathan saw Rosarita's bloody cheek. Wasn't anything? Did Lewis do that to you?" Jonathan turned to Lewis and was on the point of giving him an angry lecture when Rosarita interrupted. It wasn't what you think, Mr. Barneveld. I was scratching my face with the hook end of my glasses. You know the part that fits over your ear? Well, it must have gotten sharp somehow, because it really gave me a scratch." Rosarita was very good at explanations on short notice. Lewis felt grateful. Jonathan looked from Lewis to Rosarita. There was something fishy about all this, but he couldn't quite tell what. He thought about all the fights he had had with his best friend in grade school, and he smiled. "Oh, well, at least as long as everything's all right." Late that night, after everyone else was asleep, Rosarita tiptoed downstairs and opened the front door. She was wearing only her slippers, pajamas, and bathrobe. But she went out anyway, down the shoveled walk and out the front gate. She walked to the corner and stopped by the iron grate of the storm sewer. Water from the melting snow was rushing down into it with a hollow, chuckling sound. Rosarita took the amulet out of her bathrobe pocket. She dangled it over the grate, swinging it on its charm. All she had to do was let it go, and it would be goodbye amulet. But she didn't let go. A suggestion that seemed to come from outside told her that she shouldn't throw the thing away. Rosarita stood there a minute, staring at the strange little object that had given Lewis so much trouble. She scooped the coin back from her hand and put it into her bathrobe pocket. As she turned back toward the house, she thought, maybe Lewis is right after all. We'll put it away for a while and see what happens. I'll tell him that I've thrown it away so he won't be pestering me all the time about it. Maybe he can use it when he's older. He might be a great magician or something then. I'll guard it for him. She reached into her pocket to see if the coin was still there. Yes, it was still there. Halfway back to the house, she stopped to check again. Then she laughed at herself for being such a fuss budget. She tromped up the creaky steps and went into bed. And that's the end of Chapter 8.